Hi there. Welcome back to the best trade show I've ever been to. I've got coffee and a crumpet going on here, so I have to say this is definitely up there with the best trade shows. It's probably not quite the same as going to Las Vegas, but I've never had a crumpet sitting quietly in my own place at Las Vegas at NAB. So what we wanted to do for the next half an hour is demonstrate how effectively you can put your OB truck in the cloud, quite literally. And that's using a technology called NDI processing engine from a company called Sienna. And my colleague, Chris Bailey here, who is the expert in the room, is going to take us through essentially a narrative workthrough of one way in which you can use this technology. It's an enormously rich and kind of far-reaching bit of kit. It's essentially software that runs on an Ubuntu 18.04 box, and obviously that box can be a virtual box in Amazon or other cloud providers are available, or an AMD Threadripper box of the sort that we've got currently running in our demo data center, which is what Chris will be operating. So without further ado, Chris, can you share your one PowerPoint slide? There's only the one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll just quickly talk you through the rough outline of kind of how one of the many ways you can use the NDI processing engine from Sienna. So I'm just going to turn my video off, and Chris, if you want to just walk us through what we've got here.
So what we're looking at the moment is currently in the middle there you have your AWS or Azure deployment or cloud provider deployment with a Sienna NDI processing engine. We'll touch a little bit on NDI router as well if we have enough time. We're quite short for time on this, so there's quite a lot to cram in, so we'll kind of get right to it. So up here on the left-hand side we have basically live cameras. So they can be taking the camera backs via Makito X's or Kilo View units and delivering SRT basically up into the cloud. We can also take 4G cell phone uplinks via RTMP or SRT, which me and Rupert will show you in a second. And even if you've got a large SDI deployment on location, for instance, in an OB truck or another OB truck, you could take those SDI feeds and convert them to NDI using something like Sienna Source Maxi, which will give you up to 32 channels of SDI converted into NDI and live on the same network effectively as your Sienna processing engine using Sienna's NDI Cloud Gateway. We're also, with that, you're also able to spin up stuff like Premiere systems inside of AWS and use those as kind of live remote editing and for full confidence viewing back with Sienna Link, which we'll explain a bit later, and also be able to control this from pretty much anywhere in the world. So the full vision mixing, the audio mixing, and also being able to add any kind of contribution in from whether that be audio or video from different languages, etc. And then also being able to deliver multiple things such as CDN deliveries to YouTube or other streaming sites or broadcast centers via MPEG transport streams. So how do we do that? So we're going to just going to share my screen. We're going to hop up into our processing engine. 1 second.
So the processing engine is consumed in an HTML5 browser in all instances. So everything we show you is basically running in Safari.
Yep. Absolutely. So what you're seing here is the HTML5 output from our NDI processing engine. This is currently sitting in our private data center. This could be in AWS or it could be in Azure. We've done a couple of high-profile jobs exactly using this instance of taking multiple SRT, RTMP, RTSP feeds or SRT feeds into this, processing it and viewing it and delivering it and also monitoring it in real time.
So what I think we wanted to do, Chris, was we wanted to just talk through kind of like in narrative form so that you guys can understand what on earth we're up to here. And we're going to just take a sort of fairly straightforward kind of OB truck type scenario where we're capturing from cameras, we're bringing in audio and funneling it all through the system and out into some sort of program. So Chris, you want to just walk us through kind of what we're going to do and then kind of how we're going to do it?
So what we think of when we look at an OB truck, we've obviously got to take video and audio sources into the system for recording, ingest, and playback, etc. Oops, no, that's not worked well. Excuse me. Sorry, 1 second. It's logged me out for some reason.
A little bit of password entry action on without sharing it. We'll be back with you momentarily.
Apologies. There we go. We're back. So let's have a look at our sources. So we're going to take in a couple of SRT sources in here. So we'll be using something called Larix Broadcaster. Again, this could be the output of a Kilo View box or the output of a Makito X4 that's coming in via high vision up into SRT. So Rupert's currently running an SRT feed straight up into our engine, and I'm also running a feed. So what we can do with the NDI processing engine is actually preview these little feeds in proxy. So there's Rupert's, there's feed coming from his desk
Just adjust my
currently.
camera. Hold on a
Yep.
second.
And we also get this little real-time proxy as well that you're going to be able to see of what
So
feeds are on here.
that's an application running on my iPhone, which is free, which is generating SRT at 1.5 megabits per second. I'm in
Yep.
Norfolk, and that's coming from my telephone to the data center, and therefore to Chris in the HTML5 browser. So that's a source into our OB truck.
And there's my SRT feed from London. I'm going up into the same engine through my SRT from here. As you can see, I'm coming in via passphrase. You can put SRT passphrases. It's fully encrypted as well, so that can go up into there. And what we can also do is bring in any other source that's on there. So if you see on here, we can pick up any NDI source on our network or any other source that's on our network that we can pick up. So if there's anything that's going via NDI Cloud Gateway is available here. You can see our NT1IO sitting in London, which is adding a few more sources on there, and we can put them into the system and create automatic failovers for them. So we have a look at a couple of the feeds that we've also got going on in here at the moment. You can see these ones we'll be using for the remainder of the demonstration.
So with the failover idea, for example, recently we did a job with the NFL. So if there's nothing coming in on the SRT feed, so for example, if my phone's not working or whatever, then Chris can set a failover which would automatically fall back to a logo, the program logo or whatever else you want it to fall back to.
And I can show you that live right away now. So if I just a bit of real estate action going on here. So if I pull this feed out, you should see it should go active straight away, and then we'll get straight to our failover source. And if I pull it back, instant, straight back to our feed.
So nice and clean.
Yep, and that's just generated via a signal generator in the background, but that can be anything. Cool. So what do we do with those camera sources once they're coming in? Of course, the next thing we think about is camera racking. Now, we have the ability in the NDI processing engine to do some proc amps, so we can do some color manipulation. We could also got some scopes on here, and we can create some video, some multi-viewers. So if we just have a quick look at our NDI feed going out from the proc amp. So here's our first source coming in, it should be. Let's have a look quickly. Have a quick look at that one. There we go. So if we have a look quick at source, we can change the RGB values of this, and then we can rack these up similar to each other in here. And then we can actually create a multi-viewer, so we should be able to see all of our sources together in one place. Now, what's really cool with this is also what we can do is we can add some scopes in as well. So we're taking this first feed in to our proc amp and then out into our scopes. So what we should be able to see on our NDI output then is an RGB parade of what's going into the system. So that one is currently 40. So let's have a quick look at this one here. And we should have our RGB parade. And also what we can do is put that into a picture-in-picture, feed that into our NDI source, and then on our source multi, we should be able to see no signal. Brilliant. 1 second. We should be able to see our source with our histogram coming from the source, and we can put that into a multi-viewer in here, and then we can feed those sources and destinations back into a gallery. So the gallery,
just to talk on that point. So what Chris has got here is different web pages with simplified elements in them. So essentially in the camera racking page, all he's got is the bits that we need to do camera racking. And then that output of that page is feeding into this page where something else is going on. So it's easy to segregate activities and actions and tools that are needed for the audio guys, the video guys, the vision control guys in different pages. And those pages can be visible on different laptops or workstations, all of which are basically HTML5 pages being served up by the Ubuntu server.
So what do we want to do next? So the next thing we can do is we can have as multiple vision mixers in here, but we can also feed these sources into a vision mixer. And then we can also have our live multi-viewer coming out. So we've got our source, so our preview, our program feed, all of our sources coming in. We've got a couple of contribution sources going in here, and we've also got some graphics. So I'll explain the graphics part in a minute.
So the top right there is your program feed, is it, Chris?
So this gives us absolute full control from a vision mixer. You can pop out the little vision mixer control panel, so anyone can control this from anywhere around the world with the given link. I've just popped it out into a different window here. So if I'm changing sources, so for my program feed, I can also change my preview feed. I can slap idents in there. Again, these can all be customizable, and you can name all these feeds, and also have full audio control of this. I've also got my graphics inputting into here as well, so I can key my graphics in, which are currently coming from Singular Live. If you're not familiar with Singular Live, it is a real-time HTML5 graphics package, which I can basically generate your graphics in the cloud and trigger this stuff in real time. And as you see down in here, we're taking that HTML5 output into the graphics agent in the CNN NDI processing engine, which adds a fill and key into our Vision Mixer. So what we've got on here also is we're able to preview the clean output, the preview output, the program output completely independently, the full multi-viewer output, and we have 4 mix minus outputs as well. Now that's super useful for when you're doing audio contribution or video contribution, which I'll explain shortly. And then we have our program feed, which is coming out, which I'm actually adding a Jigsaw 24 bug into the top right-hand corner, as you can see here. Again, that can be absolutely anything you want up into the top right-hand corner there. So for your branding part.
So there's a question from Rosanna about a hardware control service for the Vision Mixer. The answer to that is yes, you can.
Absolutely, yeah. You can use something like a Behringer X Touch or an Elgato Stream Deck, or etc. etc. So yeah, it supports full MIDI control over NDI. So yeah, you can absolutely use hardware control with that. So the next part we want to move on to is we can also take an audio contribution into here. So we have an AES67 input. So if you've got any AES67 input sources which are locally, you can take those in. You can also take live into the actual system itself, and you can mux these in. There's lots of audio tools in here for embedding and de-embedding audio. And we can also, with the Vision Mixer, this will work perfectly with anything you currently already have that could be in situ or up in the cloud, something like vMix or TriCaster or something along those lines. So these will actually interact completely together. So I'll show you how we take the graphics engine in. So here we have the CG engine, and we basically have an HTML5 output from Singular Live, and this could be any application that's able to output an HTML5 graphics with a fill and key. We could take that into the system and then add it in as fill and key. That can also be an NDI source that's coming from something local, or a graphics package that you've actually got running independently in the cloud.
Just to rewind back to that, effectively HTML5 can handle, obviously pictures, as you can tell every time you look at a web page. So the Singular output is effectively a URL, and by copying and pasting that into the graphics engine, you get the graphics that it's generating. So if it's a strap with a key, or if it's a live database, all of that immediately can be superimposed over the NDI video within the processing engine.
Yep. So that's all very well and good, but how do we do monitoring? How do we monitor this? So these little web previews that you're looking at are just real-time proxies that are being created, so they're very small. So how do we actually look at this stuff in real time? And this is a kind of real key to the production in the cloud, the OB truck in the cloud workflow. So we use something called Sienna Link, which is a proprietary piece of software and module that's created by Sienna.
So this is, to be clear, Chris, this is so if you've got remote operators, so let's say you've got the vision control guy is operating from a laptop in his kitchen, and you've got the audio control guy in another kitchen with another laptop, and you've got the voiceover guy in another kitchen with another laptop. This is how we'll send to, let's say, an iPad next to the laptop in order for them to see the live output or the preview output that we need them to see to record their voiceover to, or to do the vision mixing as upstream of.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to cover this module a little bit, because this is kind of really where you're going to get all of your viewing from if you're a remote user. So the things to bear in mind in here, that you can IP whitelist, so you can only send it to certain IP addresses, because it's effectively an SRT listener. You can add a stream key in there, and you can also encrypt the stream as well. So what I'm going to show you is the main thing about Sienna Link is its latency. It is super low latency. I don't think I've ever seen anything with such low latency. So what I'm going to show you is actually the output from this Sienna Link. So what we're doing is we're taking the output of this out of our NDI router, which is being fed from our Vision Mixer, which is currently which is actually the multi-viewer at the moment, and we're feeding that into the Sienna Link feed, and then I'm picking that up on my Sienna Link monitor in real time.
So this is an application that you can consume either on a laptop or on an iPad or on a TV, an Apple TV as well. So you could have a TV on the wall with an Apple TV connected to it, and there's a Sienna Link app that will consume this output and produce it on TV.
Yep, and it is producing a live NDI output at the same time, and the latency, as you can see from it, it's probably not the best shot to be doing it on, but as you can see, the latency is incredibly good, and this will carry all audio as well down it as
So
well.
so little latency, you can almost see it
Yeah,
before it happens.
yeah, there we go. So this is a real-time proxy being created up on there on the top right, and this is actually the real-time output from me 4 miles away, and the latency is so low that this is what you be using for your real-time monitoring. So if I put that, if I choose another source, for instance, or I could be doing this from the router panel, there's another product called NDI Router. I'm able to create custom router panels to be able to switch for my Sienna Link feeds. So currently I'm viewing the Vision Mixer. If I cut over to say, let's have a look at the program feed output, and you'll see now there's my program feed output.
And
This
again,
gives,
just to contextualize that, Chris, because
yep,
obviously you're very familiar with it. If you're, again, an individual sitting at home in the kitchen with a laptop, we can give you a router panel, which allows you to route to your Sienna Link, for example, output whatever it is you need to see. So if you want to record voiceover to one or other angle, or if you're a vision mixer who wants to see a particular
yep,
thing on your Sienna Link, you can be independent of other people by having your own router panel, which allows you to route
absolutely.
NDI sources to wherever you need to.
Yep, and these can be fully password controlled as well. So we could add a passphrase onto here. So if we have a look at so the multi-viewer that was made earlier, so there's our multi-view. We lost signal 3. But again, if you're doing the camera racking, this is what the camera racker could look at. Or if he's actually physically on site, he could actually be looking at the NDI, the live NDI output. But again, we can take out the preview. We can even have a look at just the graphics package that's coming out for the graphics operator. If that's what he wanted to look at, we could do that. Or we can have a look at the contribution feeds. So if there's actually any contribution feeds, currently we don't have any coming in at the moment because we're going to cover that in a minute. But let's just keep an eye on the live output currently. So the next thing, so that's Sienna Link. So basically, for any viewing, that's what we'd be using for any super low latency real-time viewing. So how about contribution? So a really important part about having an OB truck would be having some kind of audio or video contribution into the system. Now, how do we achieve that? So there's a few ways we can do that. So with audio commentary, for instance, we use a product called Mumble, and it has a full murmur server built into the NDI processing engine. What this allows us to do is send one contribution return feed out to the via audio or video. So you could looking at the Sienna Link output, or if they're just working in audio, they could hear the audio if they're just doing audio contribution. So they'll be looking at the real-time Sienna Link feed. And via Mumble being able to contribute their audio commentary over it, and particularly in different languages. And we're able to add these as NDI destinations to be able to put them back into a mix or a separate mix to deliver to something different.
So again, just to kind of
Yep.
quickly expand on that, Chris, you've got potential here. So you've got a source of, let's say football here on the left-hand side,
Yep.
which we're sending out via Sienna Link to multiple contributors. So there could be, let's say we've got a football show that we want to do. We've got 3 commentators in 3
Yep.
different bedrooms in Italy. You've got 3 commentators in 3 different bedrooms in Germany. You've got 3 commentators in 3 different bedrooms in France.
Yep.
They're all basically able to be sent a mix minus by Chris. So they're able to talk into the Mumble kind of app, which allows us to take in what they want to say about the football, but they can also hear each other, despite the fact they may be geographically very disparate. And we can take their contribution of all 3 of them and apply the Italian commentating to obviously the output that we want to go to Italy, and the same to the French and the same to the German. So it's an incredibly flexible way of providing that kind of remote information, remote images for them to voice to, but also how we bring it all back and turn it back into a program stream.
Yep, absolutely. So here's the Mumble link. If you see, we've got 3 Mumble link connections in our Sienna server. If I switch these on, you'll just start to see them appear. You can see them to my top right-hand corner now. You can see that these have now joined these channels. Anyone who joins into this Mumble sessions, this is all password protected, would join from a proper laptop with an audio interface and a proper, let's say a Coles lip mic, for instance. So you'd be getting proper low latency quality audio coming into your system on this channel, and they would join the channel that they're allowed allowed to. I'm logged in as a super user. So if someone logged in on here, I can drag them into the right channel and keep them in there and make sure that their audio for the right language is going into the right place. Anything that then is coming on that English stream or the French stream or the German stream would be coming through on these comms, and we can take that back into, for instance, the gallery and add that in as a contribution feed into here. But we're going to do this in a slightly different way. So we're actually going to use something called the contribution manager to control who's actually being the contributor at the time. So here we have the contribution manager. I've just popped this out into a little window here. Again, we can name all these, whoever they are. So going back onto that fact of mix minus, so the being able to hear the program audio, but not the return of your own audio is super key here. So of course, we're being delivered a mix minus from the Vision mixer down in here, and we can set the mix minus up in our settings on the Vision mixer. So currently we're input 5 for our contribution, and we're sending mix minus A and mix minus B back. So whatever you've set to not hear the audio of will be sent back through via these NDI destinations. What I'm going to do is pick up these NDI destinations on here and add them into the contribution return right down here. So if you see US mix minus A, so that mix minus is then going to be sent when I am live. There's a few ways we can show you how that works. So here we've got me and we've got Rupert. This should still be me up here somewhere. Let's see if my camera might turn itself off. I think we've got Rupert working. No, we've got nothing working. Okay, let's
Hang on, has my phone gone to sleep? No, it should be all right.
No, I think mine's yeah. Okay, so what we've got is a contribution manager up in here. So we have 4 feeds. We can have a 12-way contribution manager and also a built-in intercom to this. So what the on-hold source is doing is the on-hold source is giving us a program feed of that output. So when we're on hold, we will see a program feed. When we're live, we're going to give them a downstream key mix of a text ident that says live, and with a mix minus their audio, and also add a failover switch, which is giving us a no contribution when this isn't live, and also being able to give them a full contribution return. So if we have a look at Sienna Link, for instance, on here, and we switch over to the panel for the contribution return, we go. So what we see is currently we're not live. So you can see on here, I'm getting the full program mix. If I go into the contribution manager now, what we should see is that change over. So this would now be a home 3 would be now live, and they would also be getting a mix minus back.
So essentially what we're doing here is providing to the contributors who we're bringing into the show the ability to look at, what they're actually, giving them an image of the show, yep, but also telling them visually how, what status they're in, i.e. they're live, yep, on air if when they are. So when we bring them in and they're talking to the presenter, let's say, yep, they can see that they particularly are live because we're giving them, yep, a kind of visual cue on the output of the program.
Absolutely. So
Chris, mate, we've got 7 minutes left. Okay. I don't know if that.
So what about
there's a question actually? There's a question, yep, about the proxies. What color space they're in? They're Rec 709, I think, generally speaking.
Yes. Yep. They are. Yep. They're 8-bit 709. So how do we deal with, so this has a full talkback system as well, so it has a full NDI intercom built in here, so you can either use Mumble or you can use the NDI intercom that's built into this system. So what do we do about delivery then? So if we're looking at delivery, obviously we can take this single program source and we can send it, or clean sources, and we can send this to anywhere we want at all. So we can send this into YouTube. I've currently been streaming this up into YouTube. We are send this onto UDP stream. We're also send this over RTMP. We can create an HLS stream from this, and we can create a full SRT stream that can be viewed back on SRT decoders, wherever they may be. We've also got an MXF recorder. So this is a really important thing to remember with this system. We can do full ISO records all at once. So with all these camera feeds coming in, we can record all those ISOs. It can actually live edit them at the same time. So if we had a Premiere system, which we currently do on this system, you would be able to take those live feeds that we've been streaming. So I'm just currently logged in onto a Premiere system, which is on here. And there you can see this is what we've been doing with the live program output. And this feed, this is a growing file. So this will actually grow. So any other files that have been recorded on this system, we would be able to take in, edit it live while the program's happening, and then deliver a feed straight back. So if I pop into our gallery here, I should be able to have our Premiere Pro output, and this should be the output of our Premiere Pro. So that could be a live VT playback, again, anything that's NDI on that network, so you could be playing out from VLC, or if you've got an ME player like TriCaster or something along those lines, and that they're into the system, you can use those. You can be using vMix as a replay system into here, and it'll all interface. I think the main point of this is the kind of brains, and the kind of real hard work is all done in the NDI processing engine. And when you get to the kind of Sienna Link side of it, the remote monitoring, it's super, super powerful, and everything can be incredibly flexible. I mean, we've touched on kind of a few of the modules that are available in this basically virtual glue. Effectively, this is a OB truck in a box or in the cloud.
So just there are indeed many modules. I think there are 66 at the minute, and
there are a lot. Yeah,
many more. So one of the things you can do is, for example, there's a module that allows you to have a remote journalist who might have a telephone and obviously a camera connected, to an SRT uplink camera. You can generate a QR code, which when they show the QR code to the camera, it will put it'll basically put the NDI processing engine recorder into record. So you can also embed any amount of metadata into that QR code. So any of the metadata in the QR code will be consumed into the NDI processing engine and applied to that incoming video. So you could put the name of the presenter, you could put where they are, you can put, as I say, any amount of metadata that you wish to, and those QR code generators are obviously live, and you can create them as needed. So, Chris, so we've got 4 minutes left, mate. What do you want to leave the nation with, mate?
So I think the cherry on the cake to this really is a product called NDI Router. I think this just, all the brains and everything is done within the NDI processing engine, but there is something called NDI Router, and this can be super, super powerful. So any sources you have on your network, so this could be NDI or being converted to NDI, can also be added to an NDI router. This can be 4,000 inputs and 4,000 outputs. I mean, that is a ridiculous size router. I mean, no one can manage that amount of sources.
But in the real world, you can control it using a Blackmagic panel as well, can't you? The video hub.
I've got one right next to me, that's doing it. But what the nice thing we can do with this is actually create custom panels, which I mentioned earlier. And we also actually have a full XY matrix as well in here. So here's our NDI router outputs, the ones that we were currently looking at in Sienna Link. We can be able to switch between these feeds, but also create custom panels. Whoops, I just logged out. Oh, come on, sorry. We can actually create custom panels for this. So if we go into here and we say, let's make a new panel and call it Rupert, for instance. Let's pop down into me. Let's pop down into Rupert. So we can say what sources and what destinations can he have. So this could be the output of each part of a multi-viewer, for instance. So we can say, okay, Rupert's racking the cameras. All he needs to look at is those 4 feeds plus the multi-viewer, and then he has his single output, and we can just say that's his output.
So that means I can see the 4 cameras, but I can choose which one goes full screen as I concentrate on it.
Absolutely. And then we can go into the user panels in here, and there's Rupert's panel made.
And so basically, the way I would access this is that Chris would send me a link, and in my browser, I would put that link in, and
customized link.
This would appear on my laptop, and now I've got control over the NDI sources that are being routed in the processing engine many miles away, and the consequences of my actions will affect what comes to me over Sienna Link, and I can see on my iPad, next to my laptop, or on my television, or however else you choose to see it.
Yep, absolutely.
And you can replicate the same thing for the audio control and any other activity that you might need to break out.
The same for the Vision Mixer,
from your cloud instance to basically anybody anywhere in the world, so they can all help you make your television program from wherever they happen to be.
Again, the real beauty of this is you can basically create all these frames ahead of time. So if you've got a job coming up in weeks or months, or you can build these, you can test all of this without actually having physical equipment, using dummy sources, and you can build your entire environment before it goes live, and basically effectively turn the frame on or turn everything on, and basically build your event or your production live without actually having to have any physical stuff going on. You can create the routing, you can create all the NDI destinations, create the Vision Mixer, name everything way ahead of time, and then save those, and then just shut those down and then move on to the next job. Again, all these frames can interact with each other, and if you're using NDI Discovery Manager, you can also kind of segregate this as well on the network as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cheers, Chris. So
All right.
that's a very rapid, as you can tell, tour d'horizon of the NDI router. And so if you do want to see more, it's and there's a lot in there. We're happy to do either remote demos or demos in person. We have all the equipment in house, and so we can do proof of concept type of engagements as well for shows that are kind of getting closer to reality. But thanks for your time and appreciate your coming to watch this. And as I say, if there's any further we can show you or any questions that we haven't touched on, I'm sure there are many, feel free to get in touch and we'd be delighted to answer them. Thank you very much.
Okay.